an already high-tax state.
They've been high.
No more taxes. No.
You absolutely love to see this kind of thing when it happens. Here you have people in a very democratic state, people who vote overwhelmingly for the blue party, being confronted about a new tax that's supposedly for their own good, just like almost every tax that is being put forward by the Democratic Party, and they're absolutely rejecting it. They're absolutely dismissing it out of hand because they understand that they've been taxed enough already, and they don't give a damn about the justification for this new type of tax because they understand that once it's implemented, it's going to get completely out of hand in just a couple of years. Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Sean, and today we're going to talk about this proposal out of the state of Maryland in order to tax sodas and sugary drinks and the containers that they come in, because supposedly the Democrats in power know much better about the choices you should be making than you, so they're going to try to force you into the choices that they want you to make. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticeword.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Lawmakers in Annapolis are scrambling as the state faces a $3 billion budget deficit. Instead of cuts, two new pieces of legislation would help combat the shortfall, and some say it comes on the backs of consumers.
Last week, state lawmakers introduced a soda tax and also a bottle tax, which will impose new fees to specific drinks.
So right there, you heard it in the open that they're trying to tax sugary drinks, drinks that are bad for you, drinks that come in plastic bottles in this so-called soda tax. And the reason that they're trying to do it, according to Fox 45 Baltimore, is due to the fact that they have an enormous budget deficit in the state of Maryland and they need to address it. And I appreciate this local news affiliate not sugarcoating this, pun intended, for their audience because they get 100% what this is actually about. Now, there are some people out there in my audience who have bit a little bit too hard on the RFK Jr. bandwagon, who are probably going to say that they support something like this because they're floating the idea of banning junk foods or whatever from food stamps. But make no mistake about it, this is 100% undeniably a trap that you're falling into when you decide to back this up, because the idea or the justification that we all pay for healthcare or we all put into these government programs through our taxes, therefore we have to place restrictions on our fellow citizens, is the first way that they use in order to erode your liberty. Or it's just cheaper this way to deny people the personal choices. Now, if you want to get rid of certain programs where tax dollars end up going to your fellow citizens so you're not subsidizing it, that's one thing. But the idea that you can use the subsidy as a justification to have a mechanism of control, again, is authoritarian by nature, is restrictive by nature, and it's the exact thing that people warn about when these programs that are aimed to supposedly help people end up being put into place in the first place. You then end up getting tricked into this incentive of voting away your freedom so you're not subsidizing bad things, when in reality the issue at hand is that you are subsidizing this to begin with. And a perfect example of this is the fact that on a national level we subsidize corn, so we make corn artificially cheap. A consequence of corn being artificially cheap is the fact that products like high fructose corn syrup end up in absolutely everything. They end up in almost all of our different various foods, and as a consequence of that, everything is worse in this country. Americans are eating absolutely terribly. So tell me that it makes sense in your brain to subsidize corn, make it artificially cheap so that it can be inserted in all these different various products, but then on the back end tax the consumers or restrict the consumers from buying the product because you don't want to go back and undo the subsidy in the first place. Essentially, we're spending money in this area and then taxing people in this new worldview for the consequences of that externality from that subsidy. And to me, that makes absolutely no sense. This is just another way that government's going to grow bigger and bigger, because if you don't address the corn subsidies, which is the reason why corn is in absolutely everything, what do you think is going to happen when people stop buying corn or stop buying corn syrup due to the fact that it's being taxed on the other end? You're going to get more subsidies. It's going to be absolutely crazy. And again, we just need to cut it off at its origin point in this regard.
More costs for consumers could soon be rolling in.
We've seen significant increases in pediatric obesity. We've seen a lot of chronic health diseases, diabetes, cancers. They're all linked to these products.
To help cut down on sugar consumption, Delegate Emily Shetty proposing the 4 Our Kids Act, also known as a soda tax. If passed, all sugary beverages like soda, sports drinks, and energy drinks will come with a 2 cents per ounce tax, and that includes syrups, powders, and artificially sweetened drinks, such as Diet Coke.
By increasing the tax.
So here you have Emily Shetty, a Democratic member of the House of Delegates in the state of Maryland, calling her soda tax the For Our Kids Act. She's trying to protect your children. She cares oh so hard about your children. And of course, one of her biggest legislative achievements since she's been in the Maryland House of Delegates is passing a law in order to protect transes from having to identify themselves when they change their name in a newspaper. Wow, what a great achievement for this left-wing Democrat. And now all of a sudden she suddenly cares so much about your little itty-bitty baby children, when of course it is a mechanism for her to use it as an excuse in order to introduce new taxes on everyday people in the state of Maryland. And again, I'm not saying that these drinks are healthy for you, but the fact of the matter is, once you let these people in this regard, it never ends. This is just the first step, going after the obvious stuff, going after the bad stuff, but eventually, over time, what do you think is going to happen? The taxes are going to increase over and over again in order to target you. And if you don't think that this is just going to be limited to sugary drinks or whatever, just wait for the environmental taxes. Just wait for they say, oh, well, you're not paying the full cost of the climate in order to consume that meat product, so we also have to tax this. Just wait. It's all coming down the pike. It's all going to hit you extremely hard, and you definitely shouldn't get in on it right now, because you might agree that these drinks are bad for people and people should stop consuming them. Again, these people don't give a damn about you or your children. What they do care about is transferring more power to them and away from the citizen.
By increasing the tax, it will give an opportunity for a point of inflection at the grocery aisle for a consumer to say, is this something that I really need this week, or is it a treat that I want to get for my family?
Yeah, again, I don't need an opportunity or an inflection point in order to decide whether or not I'm going to get this treat for my family, or whether or not I'm going to leave it behind thanks to a delegate in the Maryland State House. Absolutely not. You don't need to be involved in my day-to-day lives. Get your nanny state nonsense out of my face, shut your stupid face, and close your budget deficit by cutting your frivolous spending, by cutting your ridiculous programs, by cutting all the various insane things that the state of Maryland that's doing, which, by the way, you as a Democratic member of the House of Delegates are definitely voting for. Again, $3 billion in budget deficit. Focus on that. Focus on cutting that rather than thinking of new innovative ways in order to tax people. And again, I will point out that the purpose of introducing any type of new tax is so that you could forward that tax in the future. So I don't care what the rate is. I don't care how narrow it is initially. I'm against all new forms of new taxes because I know they're going to go up dramatically. Just think about it. If you have tolls anywhere in this country, the tolls never go down. The tolls never go away. They could be introduced as little as 35 cents in a specific area, but over time, what's going to happen? They're going to go up dramatically and you're going to be paying through the nose. That's exactly the goal right here, just to get this on the table in order to keep pressing for this revenue. And again, I will point out that they're not even good at this. Anybody can look up for themselves the candy tax failures that have happened in major cities that have implemented those, because what ultimately ends up happening is that they cannot even define candy properly. According to many of these candy tax laws, a Hershey bar, a regular standard Hershey bar, is candy, but a Kit Kat bar, which has more sugar and is arguably worse, is food, because the wafer in the Kit Kat bar makes it a food product. Again, people don't realize that you have to be able to define all of this to the letter of the law in a way that makes sense in legal language, and saying you know it when you see it is not good enough. You have to be specific. So this is also the perfect mechanism for you to target companies and products that you don't like in favor of companies and products that you do like. And again, it's also nanny state nonsense.
We have the Diet Pepsi.
Shoppers we spoke with say they agree with the end goal.
I think it's a good idea. An abundance of sugar in your daily diet is not good.
But question the approach.
So that means it would be an extra 32 cents for a regular bottle of soda. That seems a little over the top.
So look, while I like the people that I played in the open of this news segment that were like, absolutely not, no new taxes, this guy right here is the exact kind of person that pisses me off, because he's like, I like the goal of the program, but I don't want to have to pay the tax. The tax seems absurd. And this is the exact attitude of the American people that I find to be extraordinarily annoying. honestly almost as annoying as the nanny state prerogative behind this law in the first place. And that is the idea that, look, I want the results, I want the benefits from the government program, but I don't want to pay the taxes. I want it for free. I want it due to magic. Again, bro, you have to pick a side of the issue. This reminds me of the South Park flag episode where everybody's like, well, the flag is kind of racist, but it is part of history. And I know that was a joke on South Park, but this is genuinely the way that certain people interact with American politics. Again, be a man, take a stance. I say absolutely not, because I know for a fact that this is just a justification for all sorts of other additional taxes on foods that this particular busybody woman doesn't like. And who the hell is she to have the authority to tell me what I should consume? Absolutely not. Go home, lady. Go back to your 37 cats, because we don't want you here.
I think it's a ripoff.
We pay so many taxes in Maryland as it is. You know, I understand, the thought behind it, but boo.
Yes, I absolutely love it. This guy says it's a ripoff. She says, you know what? We pay way too many taxes in the state of Maryland already, and this is the proper attitude to have. Now, I know a lot of people who say that we should replace the income tax with the national sales tax, and again, I can hear arguments for that, but what I'm not going to hear arguments for is trying to do that without constitutionally removing the income tax as an option, because I know from living in a blue city, from living in the city of New York, that it's not a sales tax or an income tax. It's not you pay higher tolls, but also you get lower gas taxes. It's all of the taxes always 100% of the time. So right now, we don't have anything akin to a national sales tax. So I'm completely against it 100%, unless, of course, you're repealing it through a constitutional amendment. We're talking about the income tax, and then replacing it with another said amendment. You cannot in any way, shape, or form allow these people to get any forms of new taxation underway or by you, because you're just going to end up with all of the taxes all of the time. Trust me on this.
Concerns echoed by Republican delegate Kathy Schlega, who's calling the proposal a tax disguised as a health initiative. In a statement writing, if the new tax were used to lower everyone's sales tax, that would be a step I could support.
Is this really about making Marylanders healthier, or is it about increasing revenues for the state at a time there's a multi-billion-dollar budget deficit?
Again, you have that Republican representative just being 100% dead on accurate, saying exactly what I said. Maybe I should watch the whole video before I decide to shoot my response video to it, because this person knows what they're talking about. They're not talking about lowering the sales tax on other goods. This is about revenue generation, pure and simple.
It is a public health bill. The fact that it also could bring in some revenue for incredibly important investments in school meal access, as well as childcare scholarships that can help boost our economy, is an added benefit, but it is not the sole purpose of the effort.
Again, shut up. Shut your stupid face. There is a $3 billion deficit in the state of Maryland, and she's talking about the new tax revenue from the soda tax going to more government programs. You can't even pay for the ones that are already authorized. And by the way, I just want to point out, the government does not do investments. Investments are when you put money in and you expect a return on the investment. What the government does is spending. Spending on child to have daycare scholarships or whatever is not an investment in any way, shape, or form. You're not expecting a return from that if you're the state of Maryland. What you're trying to do is a political favor, probably subsidize a certain organization that provides that childcare, but again, in no way, shape, or form is that an investment. It's just spending, and right now, they're spending more than they take in, and this woman's like, oh, this isn't about the deficit, because I want to spend even more on the deficit in the state of Maryland to do all these other programs, and oh, it's definitely about health. Trust me, we definitely care about you, but give me more of your money.
According to Shetty, it's expected to make up to $500 million annually. The first $150 million going towards free school meals, the second $50 million towards childcare subsidies, and the rest to the general fund, helping curb the current $3 billion deficit.
So first of all, never, ever, ever buy into government estimates. We are not going to see $500 million in the state of Maryland as tax receipts for this program. And the idea that you're going to get $150 million more into the school lunch program is absolute nonsense. Let me tell you what happens whenever you earmark specific money to a specific area. They end up cutting that money from the general fund out of that specific area, so you don't even get a net increase in the school lunch program. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. It's all absolute garbage. And we've seen this before time and time again. Stop falling for it, people.
But the proposed fees don't stop there. Once you're done with that sugary drink, Lawmakers are also proposing a bottle bill, tacking on an additional 10 to 15 cent charge on all metal, plastic, and glass beverage containers. Those who recycle will get a refund, but those who don't.
It's another fee for more money coming out of your pocket.
They're just piling other taxes on top of other taxes on top of other taxes, and there's no telling whose pocket it's going to end up in.
A public hearing on the soda tax is scheduled to take place sometime next month. Shetty says that several healthcare professionals, including members of the American Heart Association, are planning to testify on behalf of the bill.
So right there, everybody out there in the audience should know for sure that all of your suspicions about this having nothing to do with anybody's personal health are in fact confirmed, because guess what? This particular bottle can fee and all that, the recycling fee that they're trying to increase, that is applicable no matter what is in the actual container. So this is obviously just revenue generation. They're hoping that you, a sucker out there, don't actually return it to the recycling plant in order to recruit that, because most people don't do that. They don't put the bottles back in their machine themselves, but this is exactly what they're trying to do. This is the exact scheme they're trying to go for, and nobody should follow it. And it has nothing to do with public health. Make no mistake about it. Now look, Americans definitely obviously have major health problems, and yes, there should be things done to address it. Now, of course, I target the corn subsidies, us paying for all of our food to be more and more unhealthy, but sometimes idiots out there buy into these nanny state style taxes, even though they're completely counterproductive. And if you break them down logically, you understand that they have nothing to do with public health. But I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. If you like this video, show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the nonsense out of the state of Maryland. Till next time.